straight away we saw an upturn in the performance levels, and then that really shone through in the 2000 Olympics, not just in sailing but for all other Olympic sports. I remember after the '96 Olympics there was one gold medal which was for Grave and Pinsent, which was amazing, and then a handful of silver and bronze medals, and there was a lot of talk about why Britain wasn't performing better at the Olympic stage. I think it was John Major and his government who implemented the lottery, and part of the lottery funding was to the good causes, and part of that going to supporting Olympic sport. And really early on we saw a big step change in the funding going into Olympic sports like sailing, and the effect that had on both the federations being able to get the right coaching and support behind the sailors, and also the sailors themselves then having funding to go out and be full-time athletes, sailors, both in terms of physical preparation and so on, and then being able to go out and race and campaign internationally.
I have absolutely no doubt that there is a direct correlation between money and Olympic and Paralympic success. It's not the whole story, but I think it's very difficult to be successful across a wide range of sports without that funding. And you can see the direct correlation between Britain's increasing success at Olympic and Paralympic Games and the advent of increased exchequer and lottery funding.
The conditions that our athletes were having to prepare for major events compared to other countries who were state-funded sports facilities was dreadful. And I remember that Sydney in 2000 was the first time that we actually began to consider setting medal targets. And so from Atlanta to Sydney, we began to see bear the fruit of the programme that was beginning to unfold. And of course it's gone on and grown since then.
I mean, I was very early days, going through the late 90s with what UK sport and lottery funding was doing, but even then you saw an uptick in the standard of facilities, the level of knowledge that was being put into the athletes, and the ability to train abroad and learn from people abroad.
There's massive changes with the injection of lottery funding money. It's allowed us to work full-time, more support staff, which brings, it's much more than a coaching role now, and to produce athletes, top-class, world-class athletes, it's a big team effort now, with lots of input from different people, and it's a much better, more professional system now.
Yeah, well, already we saw between '96 and 2000 the preparation that we were able to put in, the support we had from the Federation, from the Royal Yachting Association, and then as individual sailors, the professionalism that we were full-time sailors, and the venue like Sydney being a very difficult place to sail, we were able to be out there for a 12-month period up in the run-up to the Olympics, so we very much felt like we knew those waters very well, and that again came down to the funding and the support that we had, and the results. We had our best Olympics ever in sailing, and a lot of the other sports we also saw some great results, and the jump I think the jump Great Britain took up the medal table was huge, and that was directly down to the support that we had from UK sport, the extra funding, the extra professionalism, both in terms of the federations and the support that was there for the athletes, and in our situation for the sailors to go out and be really professional and go for it 100%.
You get what you invest in sport. It's a very tough competitive world to compete in, obviously. And if you look at what's happened in the world of high performance sports since Atlanta going through, and you can just take a place like Caversham. If you go down to Caversham and look at what's been set up there with Sir David Tanner and British Rowing, there's no detail left out. If you're an athlete and you have aspirations to win a medal and a gold medal in the Olympics, and if you're part of that program, everything is there in terms of your coaching support and getting the best in terms of world-class coaches around those athletes. If you look at the nutritional support in there, if you look at the high-performance setup they have there in terms of gyms, for every aspect of your training. And then on the water itself, if you look at the facilities there, no stone is left unturned to enable an athlete that's got onto that system to perform at their very best.
I mean, across all of the sports that I've worked in, unless the national lottery money wasn't there, it just wouldn't have happened. You cannot attract the world-leading coaches to help athletes become world-leading with no funding. So fundamentally, this whole system would not have happened without the support of the lottery. If we go back to pre-lottery days, we go even back to Atlanta, where the lottery had sort of just come in, 35th, 36th on the medal table, 1 gold medal. You transport that. It's only 20 years. That's not a huge amount of time in elite sport in terms of 20 years later. 67 medals, second on the medal table, and it's been the financial input from the lottery that's supercharged that system for sure.
I think we've been building, actually. I think we've been building since that Sydney cycle. So I would say that there probably was a step change around London 2012. There probably was more of a focus on those Olympics and the Olympic medals and trying to make a splash and show that we really were good as a country. But that was part of a journey, and I don't think we could have just started from a dead stop in 2007 when we won the Games. We'd been at it since 2000, since before Sydney, trying to get there. So we already had some really good base to that system, certainly within the sport of rowing, and I think within the other sports like cycling and sailing and sports that we've seen who've really succeeded.
Me personally, the changes are, it's more professional now, because back in the day we was all volunteers. We all did it for nothing because of the love of the sport, the passion we had for it. So me personally, it's just got more professional as you got further into the sport. The sport is a lot different now as well, I think. And certainly for me, it's the professionalism and the way the sport's moved on in sports science and that sort of stuff. That side of it has moved on massively in the time I've